Hey, welcome to the Professionally Strong channel. I am Paul Niam, and I want to help you become the best and strongest version of yourself. And in this video, I am talking about an issue that I see with a lot of people when they're setting their goals and when they're tracking their goals, and that is focusing too much on the scale. Now, don't get me wrong, the scale is a valuable tool to help you track your results, but if that is the only thing you're doing to track how well you're progressing, then you are missing the bigger picture, and I will explain why. And I'm also going to give you some solutions to make sure that you're focusing on the right things. So let's talk about exactly what the scale is telling you, and I think you guys already know this. Real simple, guys. It is telling you the total amount that you weigh. It doesn't give you the entire picture of how well your program is working. It doesn't give you the entire picture of how well you're adhering to your program. Two things that are very important. Now, your total weight, it is made up of a few things. Some things that don't change very much, and it's also made up of a few things that can change a lot based on what you're doing. So what are these things that don't change a lot? Well, these include your bones, your organs, and in most people, these do not change very much in the short term. Now, it's also made up of a few things that can change a lot based on what you're doing with your lifestyle. And these things include your muscle, your fat, and the amount of water that you're storing. So if all you're doing is just looking at your total weight, not really knowing what that total weight is made up of, if you just look at the scale and notice that your weight is going down, could be that you're doing something good, like losing some extra body fat, or it could be that you're doing something not so good, like losing some muscle. So when you're just looking at the scale, and if you notice your weight going down, it may be a good thing, but it also could be a negative thing depending on what you're actually losing. And that's the first issue that the scale does not address. The next is when people are focusing all their attention on weighing themselves, not just every day, but maybe multiple times a day, and they're basing their mood or their opinion of themselves on if that scale is going up and down. Not a good thing. In my opinion, the only people that should really be focused on what they weigh is people that are trying to reach a certain weight class for a sport or a competition. And if that describes you, then your total weight is important. But if it's not, like most people, then I would not be weighing myself very often, because when most people set goals for themselves, they say they ultimately want to lose weight, but what they really are after is to lose body fat, not just weight, or they're after creating some kind of visual change to look better. Now, the scale does come in handy. If you're just looking at the mirror all the time, it can be very subjective and hard to tell what you're actually doing with your program. So the reason that looking at a scale is good is because it does give you a very clear number that's not left up to interpretation from one person to another. But like I said, just knowing how much you weigh total, it's not going to give you a clear picture on how well you're progressing toward your goal. So if using the scale alone is not a good way to measure your success, then what can we do to improve this and make this measurement a little more accurate? Well, that is where knowing what your body fat percentage is, that will be an important factor. When you know what your weight is plus your body fat percent, you can calculate how much fat you have and how much lean body mass you have. So let's take a look at an example of two people. They have the same goal. They both want to lose weight. They're both starting off with the same weight and the same body fat percentage. Person A starts off 180 pounds, and after a few weeks, they're down to 170 pounds. Person B also starts off at 180 pounds, and after the same amount of time, person B is down to 175 pounds. Now, if you're just looking to scale, you might think that person A is doing better than person B, but when you take body fat percentage into account, this may or may not be the case. So let's say they both start off with a body fat percentage of 25%. Now, if we calculate that out, that means both of them are starting off with 45 pounds of body fat and 135 pounds of lean body mass. And that lean body mass is going to include everything, not just fat, so bones, organs, your water, and your muscle. Now, when they do their weigh-in, person A is at 175 pounds, but their body fat percent is the same thing. It is still at 25%. So what has happened here is person A has just become a smaller version of themselves. Their body composition has not changed at all. they just reduce their overall size. Now, if we calculate these numbers out, person A went from 45 pounds of body fat to 42.5 pounds of body fat. So they did manage to lose some fat, and that is a good thing, but their lean body mass also went down, and that usually is not a good thing. Person A went from 135 pounds of lean body mass to 127.5 pounds of lean body mass, and that means they most likely lost muscle, which means it's harder and harder to burn fat in the long term, or it could just be that they have less water in their body. But let's see what person B's results actually were when you're factoring in that body fat percent. Their weight dropped 180 to 175, but let's say that their body fat percent also dropped from 25% down to 20%. So person B started off with 45% or 45 pounds of body fat, and in a few weeks they're down to 35 pounds of body fat. So person B, while they may not have lost as much total weight, they did lose more fat than person A, and 10 pounds of fat in a few weeks, that is not that bad of a result. And the other good thing is when we look at their lean body mass, it went from 135 pounds of lean body mass up to 140 pounds of lean body mass. That means that they most likely gain some muscle, which is going to make it easier and easier for them to keep burning fat down the road. Now, to be fair, it could also mean that this person is just a little more hydrated than they were previously. You know, the amount of water that you're storing can be a little bit of an X factor in your results, but if you're measuring yourself at the same time of the day, you could kind of reduce this fluctuation from your results. Personally, I think the most accurate time to weigh yourself and do all your measurements is in the morning, the first thing when you wake up. That way, any stress from the day or anything that you eat throughout the day, it's not going to be a huge factor with your measurements. So I hope this kind of helps to clear up why just focusing on your weight alone is not going to give you a clear picture on exactly what is going on in your body. But what else can we do to track our results? The other thing I like to use is circumference measurements. And all you need to do for this is get a tape measure and measure some of the major areas of your body, your hips, your waist, your chest, your arms, your legs. And this could tell you what's getting bigger, what's getting smaller. And when I see my clients' waist go down, that's the area I like to focus on. If it's going down, I know they're on the right path. And if it's not, I start to look for other things that need adjusting, because maybe it's a compliance issue, maybe it's an issue with the program, maybe it's not challenging enough. Could be a bunch of different things. But if that waist is getting bigger, I know it's a red flag with something. Some of the other circumference measurements can be a little more individualized based on what you want, but I'd like to look at the waist, especially on someone that's trying to lose weight. And the last way that I like to track progress is with progress pictures. Now, I mentioned before that these are a little subjective, because what looks good to one person, it may not look good to another person, and that's entirely your call. But if you give yourself enough time between your progress pictures, I think it'll be very obvious if you're doing well or if you're not doing well. If you're someone that's taking pictures all the time, you may not see a big visual change between each picture. So what I would recommend is at least a month between your progress pictures. That is a mistake that I've made in the past. I've taken pictures of my clients way too narrow time frame, and they just weren't seeing these big changes. But a month or so, that is a good time to allow between your progress pictures. So I hope this video gives you some other things to focus on instead of just focusing on that scale. If you want to start tracking your body fat percent, you can do so with a cheap body fat percent monitor. Most of the larger commercial gyms, they're going to have these there, and some will allow you to use them as often as you want. If you want to get one of your own, though, so you can track your results first thing in the morning, there's a few different versions. The one that I like is these scales that come with these body fat sensors in it. There are also these handheld devices that I like. They use the same kind of technology. I like these for their convenience. They're not the most accurate, but if you're doing it at the same time every day, right when you wake up, you should be able to control some of the variance with the water and some of the food that you may eat throughout the day that could skew your results a little. So Keep tracking your progress, guys. Don't just focus on the scale anymore. I hope this video helps you to realize that if you've been doing that in the past. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, smash on that like button, and join the notification squad. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm at Instagram a lot. Of course, you could always leave me a comment down below if you have any questions. And as usual, if you want some notes for this video, go to professionallystrong.com. There's also a link in the description if you want to go there directly. I will see you next time in my next video, where I will try to help you become the best and strongest version of yourself.